As food prices continue to rise, more people are searching for meals that are filling, affordable, and easy to make. Poor man meals were never about luxury, they were about survival, creativity, and stretching every ingredient to its maximum value. These meals were born during hard times. Families had limited money, limited ingredients, and no room for waste. What they created were dishes that could feed many people with very little. One of the most classic poor man meals is beans and rice. This combination has survived generations because it is cheap, filling, and nutritionally complete. Even today, it remains one of the best budget meals available. Potatoes are another foundation of poor man cooking. Mashed potatoes, fried potatoes, or potato soups can turn a few inexpensive ingredients into a full meal. Fried egg sandwiches were once a staple for families with almost nothing in the pantry. Eggs provided protein, bread added bulk, and together they made a satisfying meal. Cabbage-based meals were common because cabbage was cheap, lasted long, and could feed an entire family. Fried cabbage with onions is still one of the most affordable meals today. Cornbread and beans became a survival food because cornmeal was inexpensive and filling. This meal could last days and keep hunger away. Pasta with simple oil or butter sauces was another poor man favorite. No expensive meats, just basic pantry items. Soup was a powerful survival tool. A pot of soup could stretch leftovers into multiple meals. Bone broth, vegetable scraps, and small amounts of meat created something filling. Hot dogs and potatoes were once considered luxury compared to nothing. Sliced thin, they could feed multiple people. Oatmeal was not just breakfast, it was dinner for many families. Savory oatmeal with salt or fat was common. Grilled cheese sandwiches were born out of necessity. Bread and cheese were cheap, and the meal was fast and comforting. Rice porridge or rice soup helped families survive when food was low. A small amount of rice could feel like a full meal. Biscuits and gravy were created to fill stomachs cheaply. Flour-based foods were affordable and satisfying. Fried dough or flatbread provided calories when nothing else was available. Leftover casseroles were not about taste, they were about survival. Everything went into one dish. Peanut butter sandwiches became a meal, not a snack, during hard times. Macaroni with a little fat or cheese replaced expensive meats. Beans cooked with a small piece of fat flavored an entire pot. Poor man meals taught an important lesson. Food waste was not an option. These meals were built around stretching ingredients, not perfection. Today, these same meals are returning because the problems are similar. People want food that fills them without draining their wallets. These meals remind us that survival cooking is smart cooking. They prove you do not need expensive ingredients to eat well. Poor man meals are not shameful, they are practical. They are a reminder of resilience and creativity. In today's economy, these meals matter more than ever. They help families survive, save money, and stay full. And that is why poor man meals are making a powerful comeback today. Poor man meals were built around one simple idea: make the most out of almost nothing. In times of hardship, families learned how to transform the cheapest ingredients into meals that could keep them full and satisfied. One common poor man meal was rice mixed with whatever was available. Sometimes it was just salt and fat, other times vegetables or small scraps of meat. Rice stretched food further than almost anything else. Fried potatoes and onions became a household favorite because both ingredients were cheap and widely available. Together, they created a filling and flavorful dish. Cabbage soup was another survival staple. A single head of cabbage could feed a family for several days when cooked into soup. Beans cooked slowly on the stove were often eaten for multiple meals. Leftovers were never wasted. Egg-based meals played a major role in poor households. Scrambled eggs, fried eggs, or egg sandwiches provided affordable protein. Simple pancakes made from flour and water were sometimes eaten for dinner, not breakfast. Cornmeal, mush, or porridge was used when other foods ran out. It filled stomachs even if it lacked variety. Fried rice made from leftovers became a way to reuse old food instead of throwing it away. Macaroni without cheese, mixed with butter or fat, was once common. Hot water cornbread was a cheap way to make bread without an oven. Pea soup and lentil soup were popular because dried legumes were inexpensive and filling. Leftover gravy was poured over bread or potatoes to create a full meal. Simple stews used bones instead of meat to add flavor. Fried bologna or spam meals were common when fresh meat was too expensive. Potato pancakes were made from leftover mashed potatoes. Milk gravy on toast provided calories when little else was available. Simple bean sandwiches became a meal instead of a side. Canned vegetables were stretched by adding rice or pasta. Oatmeal was eaten with salt instead of sugar during hard times. Flatbreads made from flour and water replaced store-bought bread. Leftover soups were thickened to create new meals. Vegetable scraps were saved to flavor broths. Poor man meals relied on patience rather than money. They required slow cooking, creativity, and planning. These meals were not boring to those who depended on them. They represented survival and care for family. Today, these meals are returning because they still work. They help stretch grocery budgets. They reduce food waste. They keep people full longer. Poor man meals teach valuable lessons about resourcefulness. In modern times, they offer relief during financial pressure. They prove that simple food can still be meaningful. And most importantly, they help people save big on food today. As poor man meals evolved over time, creativity became the most important ingredient. Families discovered ways to make filling meals using what others might consider scraps or leftovers. Casseroles were a perfect example. By combining a small amount of meat, leftover vegetables, and grains like rice or pasta, families created meals that fed everyone. Potato soups were another staple. Mashed potatoes or leftover baked potatoes could be turned into soups with a little fat or milk, feeding a family on a tight budget. Egg sandwiches on plain bread were often enhanced with vegetables or condiments to add flavor. A few cents worth of ingredients became a meal that kept children full until the next day. Pancakes and flatbreads could be made without milk or eggs if needed. Water, flour, and a pinch of salt were sometimes all that was available. Oatmeal, sometimes eaten plain with salt or sugar, served as both breakfast and dinner. It was cheap, filling, and versatile. Bean-based dishes were stretched with rice or bread. Beans alone could feed one person, but mixed with grains, they fed many. Cornbread, sometimes topped with a bit of gravy, became a meal in itself. Leftovers were repurposed for breakfast or lunch the next day. Fried onions and cabbage provided flavor to otherwise simple dishes. They were cheap, easy to cook, and added nutrition. Soups made from bones, vegetable scraps, and dried legumes were a poor man's luxury. They filled bellies and minimized waste. Pasta dishes with little more than butter or oil were popular. Even a simple sprinkle of salt or dried herbs transformed the dish. Leftover meats were sliced thin and combined with potatoes, beans, or pasta for casseroles. Gravy made from scraps of meat, fat, and flour stretched meals further and added flavor. Simple desserts were created from flour, sugar, and water, or leftover bread. Bread puddings and fried dough kept families satisfied. Milk was sometimes scarce, so powdered milk or water-based gravies were used. Vegetable stir-fries using cheap seasonal produce became survival meals. Canned foods, when available, were stretched across multiple meals. Fried rice or bean dishes were often made in large batches to last multiple days. Scraps from one meal could be turned into another. Nothing was wasted. Meals were eaten with care, slowly, and shared among all family members. Children learned early to respect food and the effort behind each dish. Cooking was more than sustenance. It was survival, education, and bonding. Poor man meals required attention, planning, and clever substitutions. Despite their simplicity, they were nourishing and satisfying. Today, these meals remain relevant. With rising food prices, they are a practical solution for families everywhere. They show that eating well does not require expensive ingredients. Poor man meals combine creativity, thrift, and flavor. And for anyone looking to save big on food today, they are timeless guides. As times changed, poor man meals continued to evolve, but their core principles remained the same: affordability, simplicity, and fullness. Families discovered how to stretch ingredients while keeping meals nutritious and satisfying. One strategy was one-pot meals. Beans, rice, vegetables, and small amounts of meat were cooked together to maximize flavor and minimize effort. These dishes saved time, fuel, and money. Potato-based meals remained essential. Mashed potatoes could become pancakes or soups. Roasted potatoes were often paired with vegetables or leftover meat. Eggs were used in creative ways. Scrambled, boiled, or fried, they were sometimes combined with leftover grains or vegetables to create entirely new meals. Casseroles were popular because they allowed families to repurpose leftovers. Pasta, rice, and bread became bases for hearty, filling dishes. Fried bread with toppings like peanut butter or beans became a cheap snack or light meal. Vegetables were never wasted. Even wilted or bruised produce could be turned into soups, stews, or stir-fries. Oatmeal, used in both sweet and savory ways, was a staple. It provided calories and could be enhanced with minimal ingredients like sugar, salt, or fat. Canned goods, when available, were incorporated carefully. A single can of corn or tomatoes could flavor multiple meals. Bone broth and soups from scraps became daily sustenance. They provided nutrition and comfort in equal measure. Flatbreads and quick breads could be made on stovetops or in small ovens, feeding a family without requiring expensive ingredients. Pasta, often combined with oil or simple sauces, provided calories, carbs, and bulk for meals. Potluck-style meals allowed communities to share ingredients, ensuring no one went hungry. Leftovers were transformed creatively. Mashed potatoes became pancakes. Rice was fried with vegetables. Bread became puddings or fried snacks. Peanut butter and simple spreads were a key source of protein and flavor. Simple soups like split pea or lentil stew were filling, nutritious, and easy to make in large quantities. Poor man meals required patience. Slow cooking and careful attention allowed flavors to develop, even with few ingredients. They relied on the understanding that every bit of food mattered. Nothing was thrown away. Cooking. These meals also taught lessons in resourcefulness and planning. Families learned how to adapt to shortages and limited budgets. Even simple desserts were created. Bread puddings, fried dough, and fruit cobblers made from inexpensive ingredients provided a sense of sweetness and satisfaction. Poor man meals were about survival, but they also built skill and creativity. They were flexible, designed to use whatever was on hand. Modern families are rediscovering these meals because they work. They save money, reduce waste, and feed many people with minimal resources. These dishes also bring back a sense of nostalgia and connection to past generations. Eating well does not require expensive ingredients. It requires creativity, patience, and an understanding of flavor. For anyone looking to save big on food today, poor man meals are practical, proven, and timeless. They are a reminder that simplicity and resourcefulness can create meals that are not only filling, but satisfying and memorable.